Soulful shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, just some soulful shit for everyone, you know what I'm saying? Like, I made this be myself, so hear me. Woo! I mean, like, we can pull that clown shit away. There's some real shit for you. I'm spazzing right now, so listen, let's go. Yeah. It's in their bones, the dogs in harmony for the love of the money. Then fall victim for the cookie, then turn pussy, it's lonely. You said you hold it down when life get rough, we're here now, so show me. We move them losses to them wins. Heavy pounds, we make it ends meet. Converse with only few who make me feel like I be 10 feet.
What's going on, people? We are back in the building for another episode of the Euro Club for Fold, guys, man. Hope everybody is blessed. Hope everybody is well. As always, guys, please make sure you are smashing that like button. Been away. The last episode I think I did was on the 23rd of September. So it's been a little while. Obviously, we've just finished the international break for everybody. So the 4 domestic leagues that we're obviously looking at, they are back in action this weekend, so we can obviously dive into that. And of course, these guys have played a few games, whether it be European competitions or in their domestic leagues. So of course, we will take a look at Barcelona, Bayern, Lyon, and Juventus, and a bit of news as well, especially surrounding Juventus. But of course, we will get to that. Let's start off with the big boys. Let's start with Barca. Yeah, I'm saying Barcelona doing really well this season. Of course, coming back now into after the international break. Guys, we've got another it's so crazy, man. I was thinking about this the other day. We've got another international break, in November. Like, honestly, and you've seen the injury list. I might even have to do a stream on just the amount of injuries that we've had, especially in the last couple of years, and specifically, since like the Nations League started. Now the Champions League's got more games, Europa League, all of these things have got more games, for these players. And I think the way that people look at it, some fans, not every fan, but the way fans look at it is so simplistic sometimes, when they're just like, well, then you shouldn't get paid all this money. The two are not mutually exclusive. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't equate just because they get paid so much that they should just do everything. So then basically what you're saying is, effectively, with the money that they get paid, they should be working more or less 5 days a week, effectively. Like, they should be playing matches 5 days a week, because, us as normal civilians, that's what we do. We don't get anything comparable to, the wages that these guys in football and in sport in general, will actually obtain. So yeah, all that stuff for me it's just very, very silly. The two are not mutually exclusive. They're two separate things, in itself. So when we're looking at it, for me, I'm just like, nah, listen, they're playing too much football, in my personal opinion. And what ends up happening is one, you get all these injuries. So first of all, you're not going to see all of these great players anyway, regardless, because they're getting so many injuries, and especially some of these guys are getting long-term injuries. Rodri, we've seen his injury, of course. Manchester City, Alisson, he's now injured as well. Mbappe injured. These are top level players, and these guys are just dropping. And that's just the top level players. I'm talking there's so many different types of players, picking up so many injuries because, of the workload of these football players. And for me, it ends up devaluing the product that you've got, which is football. You guys, on one hand, the people who complain and say, oh, they make too much money, but then you want to see the star players. Well, he's injured now. So what do you propose? That's always been my kind of train of thought is, what do you now propose? What's the thinking now? Because your idea of having less money, what difference does that make? Did you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any difference, to the amount of football that is obviously being played. But listen, man, it is what it is. Barcelona, though, as I said, doing really, really well in the league. Coming back, international break. These are their next 4 games. They've obviously got Sevilla, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid. I think that's Mallorca. No, not Mallorca. I can't remember who that last actual team is. Don't recognize the flag in itself. I'll have a double look. Is Espanyol. So yeah, that's their next 4 games. Obviously, there's a Champions League game, dotted in there with Bayern Munich. I think that game's going to be so interesting to see Hansi Flick against, his old football club. How does that kind of work out? It's going to be an interesting game, I think. Going to be a real interesting game. I was looking at Barcelona. Nothing too crazy kind of going on there. Obviously, when you're top of the league, there's not really much. It's funny when you're top of the league, yeah, and your team's doing well, and you're performing, most of the games and stuff like that. There's not really much that goes on. Do you know what I mean? There's not really much news-wise. Obviously, we celebrated just recently Lionel Messi, and we'll take a look at that. But just looking here, obviously, there's a few players who are, coming back into training, coming back from, long-term injuries and stuff. We've got Ansu Fati here. Obviously, this is Barcelona's front three. It's funny because they got a graphic here. This is Barcelona's front three. I can't remember who they played against, but you can see there Memphis Depay, Dest, De Jong versus Lewandowski, Lamine Yamal, Rafinha. That is such an upgrade. It is ridiculous. Frankie De Jong, Jesus Christ, haven't seen this guy kick a ball for God knows how long. Lord knows how good he actually is now. Do you know what I mean? Because he hasn't played for so long. But listen, look, if we get the Frankie De Jong that I guess that we kind of know, then listen, Barcelona have got another player to come back in. But it's crazy looking at Barca and with the players that they have got, that they have had to use, especially in this beginning part of the season, and the fact that they've still got Ansu Fati, De Jong to come back, Gavi to come back, Pedri, all of them. Obviously, Pedri just came back recently, but all of these players still to come into the first team. So now all of the players, who have been, starting in the midfield or the attack or whatever, they can now go to the bench, but they've done a great job, thus far. So it's actually quite good that you can finally start seeing a better Barcelona, a stronger Barcelona. And now those, would I say, squad players, they're now better for this kind of experience, and by the way, it's not by any means that these guys just walk straight back in, to the team, because Barca are doing really well without them. So I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but at least now we can start looking at it and thinking, so this is what a functional Barcelona looks like. They really do actually have a really, really good team. Lamine Yamal did pick up a bit of a knock. I don't know if he's going to be fit for the game against Sevilla that Barcelona do have this weekend. I think there's, from what I'm hearing, there's a bit of doubt in regards to that. So again, we'd have to wait and see. But of course, we know, Lamine Yamal has been absolutely on fire for both Spain and, Barcelona this season. So this could be a really, really good season. And, it's so crazy, yeah. Like, it's funny because I was just at the beginning of the stream, I'm talking about, injuries and all that kind of stuff, to players, too much football. This is a guy who's played a lot of football. Like, when I say a lot, the guy is only 17 years, of age, played for Spain, played in the final, for Spain. And, at this kind of tender age, I mean, at this current moment in time, he's played 61 matches, for Barcelona. In what, the space of what, 2 seasons? Technically, yeah, 2 seasons, the 2022-23 season, and 23-24, and now we're in the 24-25. He's played 10 games and got himself 5 goals so far this season. He's been on fire. He has been really, really good. But again, you want to be able to manage, because what you don't want is the same situation that we kind of had with Ansu Fati. That will be very, very annoying if Barcelona get themselves into that situation, because less people act like, because they saw Ansu Fati popping up at Brighton, not really playing games and stuff like that, he's just a flop. Bro, let's not forget, this was the guy that they were saying was the heir to Lionel Messi. Give man the number 10 in that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm talking, they genuinely, like, Messi was even endorsing it. Like, a baller, an absolute baller. And if it weren't for the injuries, especially at this his kind of crucial development, early development as well, by the way, because he's still a young player. If he didn't get that long-term injury, I reckon he'd be, Lord knows where. He'd be at the top. He'd be somewhere near the top, because that's where he was kind of, going. So yeah, man, of course, it's great to see him back anyway. But let's hope that Lamine Yamal, doesn't start picking up injuries now. And it's always starts with the first one. When you're out for the first one, and if I don't know what it is, I think it might be a hamstring or something like that. But as soon as it goes 1, then 2, then 3, now you pick it up. It's just constant. I've seen it already. Gavi, the Pedris, I've seen it already with these kind of players. Like we saw Aaron Ramsey for Arsenal. You pick up, like, obviously his one's a bit mad, but you pick up injuries. And then it just becomes like a normal thing now, like Santi Cazorla. Like, it's just long, man. And I really don't want to see it from, some of these, star players. But as I said before, they celebrate, I think it's 20 years since Messi made his debut or something like that. 20 bloody years. You're talking about my favorite player of all time. most people's favorite player of all time, the best player to ever play the game. 30 on his back, Lionel Messi with a long hair. Like, yo, man, that Messi was absolutely demonized. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was just a young Messi just kind of doing his thing, just enjoying the football, and we've seen what that looks like. Honestly, we've seen what that looks like. And of course, this is just the table for Barcelona, as I mentioned before, sitting comfortably. Nah, joking. Sitting at the top of the league, only 3 points ahead of Real Madrid. So it's still a bit tight. It is still a little bit tight. Up there, 9 games played. What's that? 8 victories, no draws, and a defeat. Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid are, from what I can tell, the only 2 teams who have not lost in La Liga thus far this season. So it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be tricky. It's great to be top right now, but with only 3 points, that game against Real Madrid is going to be vitally important, like genuinely important, especially because in Spain, they've got that head-to-head kind of rule, which is so crazy when you think about it. But listen, we've got definitely a lot to kind of look to. Now, just taking a look at obviously just their last kind of fixtures and stuff like that, just for you guys to be able to see. Let's zoom in there. But yeah, obviously their last game, obviously this is before the international. Look at 14 days. That's a long time. It's a long time, but the reality is you've had international football in that time. So it's like, it's mad. Obviously beat Deportivo Alves 3-0. Young boys in the Champions League beat them 5-0. They lost to Osasuna. That one was a little bit of a shock. Obviously, I know he did rotate the team and all of that kind of stuff. But even still, in their last 3 games, it has been 2 wins and 2 wins and a loss. Listen, you want to put that right against Sevilla at this weekend, especially before this Champions League game with Bayern Munich. I really think he's going to want to put that right. And Sevilla, no mugs. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Sevilla are no mugs. So you just have to be, just a little bit careful. Just a little bit careful. Now, let's move on to Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich. Again, Bayern Munich, another team who are doing pretty well, I would say. I don't think there's many complaints when it comes to looking at Bayern Munich. Maybe in their last few results fairs. Obviously, their next match against Stuttgart, so that's going to be an interesting game. Funny, I like the fact they got Alphonso Davies on this kind of graphic design here, especially with all the talk about him potentially, moving on, stuff like that come the end of the season, not signing a new contract or not looking to sign a new contract. Jamal Musiala, another one who may or may not sign a new contract. Again, there's a couple players in there, these are star players for them, kind of thing. So, Vincent Kompany and the guys above him, they got a bit of work that I feel they're going to need to do to be able to convince these guys that this is the project going forward. But it's mad because I almost feel like, Bayern don't get the PR that other clubs would get. And it might just be because it's Bayern Munich. Maybe, obviously, people don't really rate the league and, all of that kind of stuff. But when I look at Bayern, I think to myself, like, how can you not rate, like, this team? You know what I'm saying? Like, I almost find it impossible. Like, I'm going to read out some of the players, like Rafael Guerrero, Joshua Kimmich, Alphonso Davies, Upamecano, whether you like him or not, I think he's a good defender. Thomas Muller, of course. Goretzka, meh, fair enough. Midfield is a bit like, fairs. Pavlovic, I think is an absolutely really, really good player. And then you look at their attack. Their attack, 3, 6, 9 players. 8 of them, I would say, 7 of them, I would say most people will be like, yeah, I'll sign that guy. Harry Kane, Serge Gnabry, Kingsley Coman, Leroy Sané, Mikel Olise, Jamal Musiala, Matisse Tel, and then you've got Ibrahimovic and Irakunda. Obviously, they're 2 young players, so maybe not those 2 at this current stage, but bro, that's 7 players that you're looking at. And I'm sure most people will say, you don't want Harry Kane, the best striker or one of the top 2 strikers in world football right now. Serge Gnabry, I know injuries and stuff like that, but I'm sure a big club would still look at him and think, if he could stay fit, I could definitely get the best of him. Kingsley Coman, the same thing. Leroy Sané kind of in that same boat. But cool, let's say you take out those 3. You still got Harry Kane, Mikel Olise, Jamal Musiala, Matisse Tel. Yo, like this, listen, man, their team is absolutely stacked. It is stacked, man, especially in that forward area. So it's definitely a conversation for people to have. Obviously, as I said here, they're sitting top of the league at this current moment in time. Like I said, it's been calm. It's been relatively calm you know what I mean, for them, joint there with RB Leipzig, 1 point. No, 1 point actually. They're both level on points. Sorry, should I say? Obviously, Bayern scoring bloody 20 goals. That's a lot of goals that they've scored. They've been slapping teams. I know they beat Werder Bremen not too long ago. So yeah, they're doing well. In my opinion, they're doing well. They're doing well. If we take a look, if I show you guys real quick, obviously you can see here their last few games. They'd lose to Aston Villa in the Champions League at Villa Park. That was quite a shocker, if I'm being honest with you. Probably a shocker for Vincent Kompany as well. It kind of seemed like it the way he was talking after the game, but fairs, you know, you just lost, so he's not definitely going to be sitting there happy about it. And he knows he knows the Premier League, he knows Villa already, so there's a little bit of that in there. Of course, obviously drew to Frankfurt as well, 3-3, not great, and then of course drew to Bayern Leverkusen as well. That wouldn't have even have been so bad, to be honest with you, drawing with Bayern Leverkusen, if you then didn't go on to then lose to Villa and then draw to Frankfurt straight afterwards. You needed to get 2 victories straight after that to make this look a little bit better, and just to kind of say, well, you know, because respect to Bayern Leverkusen, they're a really, really good team, right? So in order for you to just kind of bounce back from that, you didn't want that to be a 1-0 defeat away in the Champions League to Aston Villa, with no disrespect to Villa, but there are levels, you know what I mean, to this. So of course, Vincent Kompany, that's going to hurt. That is definitely going to hurt him. But listen, man, they're still sitting top of the league. They've scored God knows how many in goals anyway. So, you know, it is what it is. Let's move on to Lyon. Lyon are an interesting one. Lyon are a very, very interesting one, because recently they have actually been playing pretty well, if I'm being super honest with you, in terms of, you know, the victories that they have, you know, been getting as of recent times. You know, players like, you know, Lacazette, Ryan Cherki as well. Ryan Cherki, one of my favorite players. I'm just not 100% sure where his career is going to go, but he's still mad young, which is crazy because it feels like he's been around for years. But I think it's because you've been watching him with compilations and youth teams and stuff like that, that you feel like he's been around for ages. But yeah, I just think that when it comes to someone like him, he's got a lot, you know, going on. He's got a lot going on, in my personal opinion. Obviously, this is, you know, it was a good week for Lyon, and you know, I was criticizing them before. And if you watch all the previous episodes, most of them have been draws or defeats. There was a few like wins maybe dotted in there, but most of them have been draws, you know, or defeats. So I have been getting onto them a lot. But you can see, look, beat FC Nantes, beat Rangers, you know, 4-1 Europa League, beat Toulouse 2-1 as well. So they had a very, very good week, you know, only conceding 2 goals, you know, in that time, and scoring, what's that, 2, 6, 8 goals and 2 goals conceding in 3 games. That's a good little record for them. And then they've started to kind of just move up the league a bit more respectable now. Now they're in 8th position. I mean, it's crazy because in that top 10, they're the only team with -2. That shows you how dead they've been prior to this. And considering you played 7 games and got 3 wins and 3 losses, yeah, I mean, it's a bit like, ish. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Considering, yeah, you got the most defeats in that top 10. So again, like I said, if you look at that first part of the season, I know we're still technically at the beginning, but when you look at that first part of the season, you can see that, yeah, Lyon weren't really pulling up any trees, if I'm being 100% honest with you. And like I said, I wasn't really too happy, you know, with Lyon before, because I just felt like just things weren't the way that you were playing, the mistakes that you were making for goals. You know, I watched some of the highlights of some of the games, and I was just like, bro, like, Lyon, like, what is this? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, you're looking at the team again, bro, what is this rubbish that I'm watching? Considering I actually had genuine high hopes for you, you know, heading in to that kind of new season and stuff like that, but just wasn't really there. Obviously, results from their last couple of games. Obviously, this is against Olympiacos, where they won 2-0. If we take a look here, obviously this is against Toulouse, the Rangers, and the Lyon. So they've had a good time recently, and obviously they come back again on Sunday now against Le Havre. They have to get that victory. No matter what, you have to get that victory. There's no 2 ways about it. You have to continue the kind of good recent form that you've recently had. Then they go away. Then they go again in the Europa League against Besiktas, and then Auxerre. So in that space of a week, if they can get 3 victories, one, they'll move up the table anyways, just getting the 6 points, and I think teams will start to drop points. But also, I think it'll just start to put them heading into November as well. I think it will start to put them, you know, in good stead, and then they can just kind of take it from there. But listen, man, we'll wait and see. Last but not least, obviously we have got Juventus. Hey, Juve. Juve is an interesting one. Obviously, looking at Juve, you know what I mean, this season, I think Juve, in my opinion, I think overall they've been calm. Obviously, new manager and stuff like that. So, I totally get it. Looking at league table, obviously they're sitting third at this current moment in time. Not really too much of a problem. Haven't lost a game this season, which is good because everyone else in that top 10 has lost at least one game thus far. So, you know what I mean? They're battling at the top with Napoli and Inter. I think it's going to be a good race this. I think it's going to be, I think it may be the Italian league. When I think about it, I think the Italian league and maybe even the French league, I think they're going to be two very, very interesting leagues. I think those are two leagues that people need to just be watching out for in terms of the competitive nature, behind it. We talk about the Premier League because if Man City win again, that's 5 in a row. Yeah, we might as well just all pack up. There's no point playing anymore. Honestly, there's no point playing. Just give them the next 5 after that. Let them make it 10, and then maybe they can rip up the team or something like that. Maybe Pep Guardiola would have left by then. But yeah, it's looking real interesting in Serie A. I mean, these times you got Milan AC sitting down there in 6th, Atalanta in 8th, Roma in 9th. Lazio, top 4. Yo, it's crazy. It's crazy. But I think the interesting news with Juve, and as I said, they got their games coming up, and that last few games drew against their last match. They drew against Cagliari 1-1, beat RB Leipzig 3-2. That was close, and beat Genoa 3-0 prior to that. So, pretty decent, 2 victories and a draw. So, no defeats. That's okay. But I think the biggest news, I think what everyone's kind of been, especially in the last 24 hours anyway, is this man, Paul Pogba. Palito. Pogba. Jesus. Yeah. Obviously, he did his interview with Sky Sports. I think he's spoken to this Italian news outlet, Gazzetta. Obviously, talking about his ban being reduced. I think he's able to come back now in March 2025. So that's next year, as opposed to the 4 years that they were trying to give him previously. Without delving too deep into it, you guys can go check out, the interview and stuff like that. Obviously, this is him talking to Gazzetta. I'm willing to take a salary cut to stay at Juventus. I'm just thinking about training, playing for Juventus. It's not me that needs to speak. The pitch will do the talking, and Thiago Motta will judge with his eyes. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I watched that interview, the Sky Sports interview anyway. I watched that. Interesting interview. Obviously, more like for those who haven't watched it, again, go and see it because it was interesting. It was interesting, but I was a little bit like, yeah. Obviously, he's talking there, about the whole drugs thing. He basically just saying, look, it was kind of a bit, yeah. Like at first, it was kind of like, yeah, if I did take it or if I didn't take it, but listen, in the end, it's like I took it. Obviously, which is the supplement, which of course, again, you're going to get banned for, and whatever. I don't know what the rules are in terms of not rules. I don't know what what they will then give you for those kind of banned substances. I don't know what the substance was. I didn't read into that. I just know that it was something that has been banned. He gave his reason. He said it wasn't about injuries as to why he took it, and to be honest, the reason is actually kind of irrelevant. I don't actually really care as to why you took something. Obviously, what he was trying to say was just more along the lines of, well, he didn't knowingly take it, which is fine, and clearly from what he was saying, he's got the documents to prove that, I didn't knowingly take this. If he's got the documents to prove that, then it is what it is. Ultimately, you still took it. So regardless of whether you're knowingly or not knowingly or whatever, unless you can prove that someone spiked your drink, then the reality is so, but I do agree that I felt at the time it was a little bit excessive, but again, that's without me knowing the facts. That's without me knowing what drug was it, kind of thing. I had no idea. So I in my eyes, I just thought it seems a little bit excessive. 4 years, that's a long time. You know what I mean? Like, he must have taken something that really could enhance your performances. Do you know what I mean? But listen, he trusted a professional. I'm not saying that and again, read the documents if they're available, check it out, judge for yourself. I don't know if the doctor or whoever administered, this drug or whatever. I bet it's not even a drug like that, but whoever administered whatever it is that they gave him, I don't know if it was they knowingly did so. Did they just not think, oh yeah, nah, it will be caught? Like, who knows? But listen, he's just more trying to plead his case in terms of there was a lot of talk about him going to like Inter Miami, and that's not that may still be the case, and he may potentially terminate his contract, with Juventus, and they're gonna have conversations and blah. But from what he's saying, he kind of wants to stay. He kind of wants to stay, and man, I would love to see Paul Pogba back playing football, man. I know people obviously look at that second stint at Manchester United, and rightly so. That's the club. Well, that's the most recent bit of football that we've kind of seen, from Juventus, from Paul Pogba. So it makes sense, right? But sometimes, yeah, I feel like some of you just forget the Pogba. Like, I know this is a long time ago, so there is that, right? So fair enough. But the guy's only 31 years of age. He's been around for a minute since youth days. We've been seeing Paul Pogba, so we've seen the rise and inevitably the kind of fall of Paul Pogba, right? So he's coming back for the second act. But this guy at Juventus, when he moved to Manchester United, like back to Manchester United, one, I was like, this is the wrong move, 100%. Like, I just always felt this is not the right move for you, my brother. It just isn't the move, man. Just isn't the move. Like, you should have gone to like a Real Madrid or something, like anywhere else, bro. I mean, I would have loved him at Liverpool, of course. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't care what no one says. Like, people talk about Gravenberch and stuff like that. If Gravenberch can hit that kind of level, you got one of the best midfielders in the world. Honestly, he's one of the best midfielders I've ever seen. This guy was doing the madness, is playing that midfield. Arturo Vidal and them, man, in the midfield. Yeah, it was a long day. Pirlo, that midfield three was nasty. It was absolutely nasty. I thought it was one of the best midfielders I've seen in a long time. Yeah, I'm trying to say definitely up there with the best of them, 100%, 100%. And his performances for Juve is the reason why Manchester United felt like, yo, let's bring him back. And I understand why they thought that, kind of thing. But I just felt like it was the wrong move for him, man. Like, I know they've got Tchouaméni now, but man, if they had Paul Pogba, that would have been so much better for them, in my opinion. I think it would have been so much better. But yeah, obviously the past is the past. He's spoken as well about Manchester United, about him wanting to leave. I've seen some fans, and I guess some fans are kind of up in air about this, in terms of how they feel, because obviously, of course, you still watched him on the football pitch. You still watched him at times stink it up, maybe not try as hard as he wanted to do, but he explained it there. And for me, I'm like, in that kind of situation, yeah, I always say, for me, I put more blame on the board than I do the player, because I feel like people think, again, simplistic thinking. I always think you look at it so like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Even if you don't want to be somewhere, you should still try your hardest. No, that's not even how life as a human being works. If you do not want to be somewhere, relationship, your workplace, you're not going to be playing at your absolute best. Like, you're not. It's just not going to happen. I'm going to say we've never seen it, because that's a lie. But I can't think of many cases. Unless the only time I can think of cases is if you've been told, yes, come the end of the season, I will let you go 100%. And you've had that gentleman's agreement, then maybe during the season you'll continue playing at the level that you're at, and blah blah blah. Why do you think this guy, every time he went to France, he looked like the player that he actually is? Which is that's the Paul Pogba I know, not the one at Manchester United. I'm trying to think of a word. Like the Manchester United recently, anyway, not the old Manchester United, but the Manchester United of the last 10 years, it disgusts me, because there's something within that football club that I don't know what it is, but you've somehow turned some of the best footballers we've seen of this generation and turned them into just horrible players. Like, they just look this like yuck. That's probably the best way. Yuck. So Manchester United, for me, massive football club. I've got massive respect for them. But and I'm not a player, but hypothetically, if I was, you don't even touch Manchester United. Like, stay away. That's one of the worst clubs in football right now to go to. Of course it is. Look at the players. Like, this is not me talking as a Liverpool fan. I don't care. Like, I don't do all of that. I don't care about that stuff. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't do the rivalry. Like, forget all of that. Just look at it, take yourself out of the rivalry point of view. Look at Manchester United. Look at the play. Like, there is too much evidence. Too much evidence. Like, there's too much. You can't go to that football club. One of the clubs that I look at, especially big clubs as well, that I look at and say, oh, you have to stay far away. Like they need to get back on their own feet. Maybe Ineos coming in and it might, that's them. But for the time being, nah, don't go to Manchester. One of the worst clubs in football right now to go to. 100%. It's definitely not. And I'm sorry, Manchester United fans. Oh, you're just saying it. No, it's literally a factual thing. Like like I don't know how much evidence you guys want to provide, but I can sit here and give you a dossier on why you shouldn't go to Manchester United. But you know what? I don't even need to do that. Alexis Sanchez, the Paul Pogbas, the Bruno Fernandes, like so many players have spoken about the kind of environment at Manchester United in some way, shape, or form. In some way, shape, or form, they've spoken about it. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So I don't know how that doesn't scream to certain players, especially players like, when I look at De Ligt going there and stuff, I'm like, this coming from a guy who didn't move from Ajax, did really, really well there. Obviously, wonder kid and all that kind of stuff. And then now he's moved on to, Bayern Munich, Juventus and all that kind of stuff and still hasn't even, it's not failing, but just not really making a grade there, should I say, where these clubs are just willing to let, someone like him go. Then he goes to Manchester United. That for me, wrong move, but I don't care. You can keep failing. That's what I hope that happens. But just for the players' sake, I'm like, nah. And Paul Pogba was one of my favorite players. Well, still kind of is one of my favorite players, to watch. So, yeah, man. I think with the whole Pogba thing, listen, it's whatever now. He's come back in March. I don't know if he's allowed to train with the team and stuff like that. That'll be interesting to see. But hopefully he is. And then we can just kind of take it from there, to be honest with you, and then hope. We can get to see the Paul Pogba, that we kind of remember, the World Cup winning Paul Pogba, the brilliant. God, I remember that assist against Cameroon. Oh my, bro, mad. The goals for Juve, yeah, and some of the performances for Manchester United too. Like he played really, really well as well. Like so, yeah, man, it's one of those things. But listen, it is what it is with someone like Paul Pogba. Let's wait and see. Obviously, Thiago Motta still got a lot on his hands anyway. He's got his own thing to be kind of worrying about. He's a new manager. Can he fit Paul Pogba into the mix? Who knows? We'll have to, of course, wait and see. But let me know your kind of thoughts on the whole thing in itself, people. But that is the end of today's episode. Episode 10, man. Really good. We've done 10 episodes so far. I'm kind of happy with that. That's 10 weeks that we've been able to drop this episode of Euro Club Fourfold for you guys. We'll be back sometime next week. So make sure you guys stay locked in, stay tuned, and I'll catch you very, very soon. Peace.